Hello everybody and welcome back to True Crime After Dark. So I have a video for you guys today. It's something I watched a little bit about this weekend, but I have not watched this one. And it's got a mistress, it's got a murder, and it's got some children left to deal with the consequences. But there is a plot twist, so stay to the end because it's a very interesting case. Maybe you guys have heard about it, maybe you haven't. But let's get into this. Before we do, leave a like. And if you enjoyed the video, definitely subscribe to our channel. We do all things true crime, and we'd love to have you in our community. So without further ado, let's get into that video.
Jennifer Dulos' black Chevy Suburban sat empty in Waveney Park. It had backed up to a tree and was still in reverse gear with its parking lights still on. That morning, Jennifer and her nanny, Lauren Almeida, had a fairly normal day planned. Jennifer would drop the kids at school, return home to get ready, attend a few appointments, then head out to her mother Gloria's apartment in Manhattan. Later that afternoon, Lauren planned to pick the kids up from school, then meet Jennifer at Gloria's house. Jennifer would then take the kids to their orthodontist appointments. At 7:14 a.m., Lauren got a routine text from Jennifer regarding some of the children's logistics, including their app privileges and some lacrosse equipment. Nothing out of the ordinary. On her way to Jennifer's home to tidy up a bit, Lauren stopped at Subway for sandwiches for everyone. She arrived at the family's home at 69 Wells Lane about 11 a.m. She entered through the middle garage as usual. Right away, something felt off. The Range Rover that Jennifer had planned to drive to meet Lauren in Manhattan was still in the garage, but the Suburban was gone. Inside, Jennifer's purse lay on the floor near the kitchen, and her morning granola bar and tea sat untouched on the counter, extremely out of the ordinary for Jennifer, whose routine was to always finish both her tea and granola bar every morning.
You already know something's going to be definitely off because nobody ever just leaves their stuff. Their morning routine usually gets done. So that is a big red flag.
As Lauren tidied up, she noticed that the paper towel rolls that she had just stocked in the pantry the night before were down to 2 rolls. She was surprised, but figured perhaps one of the kids spilled something and used them up. At about 12:30, Lauren picked up 4 of the children from school, took them back to the house for a quick Subway lunch, then texted Jennifer at 12:43, giving her an update. She didn't get a response. She texted her again before leaving, giving Jennifer their ETA to Gloria's. When she arrived at Gloria's apartment at 2:30 and Jennifer was not there, she texted again. Just got to Gloria's. Still, no response. With the orthodontist appointments looming, Lauren texted once more, asking if perhaps Jennifer had intended to meet them at the orthodontist. With Jennifer still not responding, Lauren took the children by taxi to the orthodontist. Once they were settled into their appointments, it was just after 4 o'clock. With still no word from Jennifer, Lauren tried calling her. Jennifer didn't answer. Lauren's stomach sank, knowing that Jennifer always answered her calls. Lauren began calling hospitals and friends. She brought the kids back to Gloria's and took a cab to one of Jennifer's appointments to see if she had made it there. She had not. So, Lauren returned to Gloria's and with Jennifer's friends, contacted the New Canaan police to report Jennifer missing that evening. Officers arrived at Jennifer's home and began searching inside. They didn't find anything concerning until they reached the garage. Looking around, they noticed what looked like blood on the garage floor, and both scrapes and blood on the car.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well with me, especially because like this, it's like a pattern here. You know what I mean? It's clothing. Right, not fur, but there it's up here too. It's hard to get any of this.
These
Camera. Should get better cameras. Hopefully this is getting it though. Right? Usually if you hit a deer and there's blood in your car, you take it to the car wash and get it cleaned. Especially a Range Rover. Let's see if there's any damage in it. I mean, this is grandma's car, so you never know. But
The case quickly shifted to a homicide investigation. Forensic technicians documented every drop of blood, every disturbed surface, every piece of potential evidence. The first person they wanted to talk to was obvious. It was the person at the center of nearly every issue Jennifer was dealing with, Fotis Dulos. Fotis was her estranged husband, the father of her 5 children, and the man with whom she had been locked in a bitter, years-long custody battle.
You know what they say, it's always the husband.
When investigators contacted Fotis the morning after Jennifer's disappearance, officers noted that he didn't seem concerned, didn't ask any questions, and didn't offer any information to help find Jennifer. He agreed to come to the police department later that afternoon. When he arrived, he was accompanied by his attorney, who informed police that Fotis would not be providing any assistance in helping to find his estranged wife. The attorney announced they were leaving without giving an interview. Before they left, detectives asked Fotis to see his phone. Fotis handed it over, then provided the unlock code when asked, allowing investigators to access the device. But when police advised him the phone was being secured as evidence and would be examined with a search warrant, Fotis refused to consent to the forensic review. They did obtain a search warrant, so Fotis would eventually have no choice. Back at Jennifer's home, forensic experts meticulously processed the garage in her black Chevy Suburban, documenting every item in the vehicle and their locations. They found a large area on the garage floor that looked like it had been wiped or mopped, consistent with an attempt to clean up a significant amount of blood. Between blood spatter patterns and other evidence throughout the space, they concluded that a violent physical assault had taken place there. Luminol testing on Jennifer's Suburban revealed traces of blood in the cargo area, stains that were not visible to the naked eye but illuminated under chemical light. That linked the vehicle to a potential crime. Meanwhile, search teams fanned out across New Canaan. Police and state troopers coordinated a massive search effort, joined by firefighters and local volunteers, combing through Waveney Park where Jennifer's Suburban had been abandoned. They searched wooded trails, nearby streams, storm drains, and went door to door in the surrounding wealthy residential area. While the community quickly rallied to help, investigators knew that the odds of finding Jennifer alive were slim, having already seen the blood evidence back at the house. They feared they were searching for a body, not a missing person. The case nearly instantly grabbed national headlines, but not for the reason friends and family had hoped. Within days, multiple media outlets and social chatter began comparing Jennifer's disappearance to Gone Girl, the 2014 film starring Rosamund Pike and Ben Affleck, where a wife stages her own disappearance to frame her husband. That Gone Girl comparison wasn't the media's invention. It was floated by Fotis' lawyer. He told reporters that investigators were ignoring the possibility that Jennifer had staged her disappearance, specifically calling it a Gone Girl scenario. He suggested that Jennifer may have orchestrated her own disappearance to frame Fotis during their custody battle. He stated, if she were critically ill, thought she was about ready to lose control of her children, disappearing in such a way that made it look as though her husband were the culprit is the best piss-off you can give somebody. He went on to add, this is a person who has a pretty florid imagination and motives to use it to hurt Mr. Dulos. He claimed that she had written a 500-page Gone Girl reminiscent manuscript, which he said he had not read and that he reportedly never produced. No such manuscript was ever found, but the theory spread instantly. Mainstream outlets all ran versions of the story linking Jennifer to Gone Girl. Within days, social media was echoing the same question that had now gone national. Was Jennifer truly missing, or had she orchestrated it all herself? Jennifer's friends and family were livid. Not just that such a cruel and baseless comparison was being made, but that it went against everything that the responsible, loving mother stood for. They insisted she would never leave her children. Not for anyone, not for anything.
That's what I was about to say. And these lawyers, these defense lawyers, they just defend these people that commit these crimes just like they have no heart, no soul. They're just doing a job, I guess. It's their job, but no mother. If you're a mother, you know you would never leave your children. You're just not going to pick up and disappear or do anything, even if it's to do something against your husband. You're not going to endanger or leave the side of your children, period.
Jennifer's mother's attorney slammed Fotis' lawyer's statements as a classic act of desperation to slander the victim. Despite their efforts, the narrative was shifting away from concern for the missing mother to sympathy for her estranged husband, who was being portrayed as misunderstood.
I just want to tell my children that they're constantly on my mind and that I love them and I miss them very much.
To understand how this story evolved, you have to understand the war that Jennifer and Fotis' marriage had become. What began as a fairy tale love story between a gifted writer and a charming businessman had by 2017 collapsed into fear, control, and danger. Jennifer was born Jennifer Farber on September 27, 1968. She was born into a family of wealth, privilege, and philanthropy. Her father, Hilliard Farber, was a respected banker and financier, and her mother, Gloria Farber, was a New York social figure. Even her extended family was notable. Gloria's brother co-founded the billion-dollar fashion brand, Liz Claiborne. Jennifer earned a degree in English literature from Brown University before going on to receive her master's in creative writing at NYU. She was quiet, thoughtful, artistic, determined, and known for her empathy. It was in New York in 1999 that she met Fotis Dulos, a Greek immigrant with movie star confidence and entrepreneurial ambition. He was the founder of 4 Group, a luxury home building company in Connecticut, and he seemed to embody success. Fotis had been married once before for about 4 years to a woman named Hilary Aldama. The couple separated in July 2004, and just weeks after their divorce was finalized, he and Jennifer married in August of 2004, and eventually settled into a sprawling home on Jefferson Crossing in Farmington, Connecticut. Once they began having children, Jennifer left her writing career to raise them. They had 5 children total, including 2 sets of twins. She enjoyed chronicling her life and motherhood through essays and blog posts. For years, their life appeared perfect from the outside. Jennifer organized playdates and school events, while Fotis built million-dollar homes across Fairfield County. But behind that polished facade, things were not ideal. By 2016, Jennifer began to suspect Fotis of cheating. Those suspicions became undeniable the following year during a family trip to Miami, a trip where Jennifer had invited Lauren to come along and help with the children. At the water ski club in Miami, where Fotis trained, Jennifer was caught off guard when her kids ran toward another woman that they clearly already knew. Her name was Michelle Troconis. The 44-year-old Venezuelan-born former equestrian worked for Fotis's company, marketing his luxury ski homes. The kids called her Mishi and hugged her like family. Fotis introduced her simply as a friend. But Jennifer could tell that it was something more. When the trip ended, Jennifer and Lauren returned home to Connecticut with the children, while Fotis stayed behind with Michelle and Michelle's daughter. Within days, Jennifer quietly found emails and receipts that showed that Fotis had secretly taken another trip to Utah with Michelle. That confirmed what she already suspected. When she confronted him, Fotis didn't deny it. Instead, he got angry that she had spied on him. From that point on, their marriage turned cold and hostile. Jennifer shared what she learned with Lauren. Lauren recalled that Jennifer didn't seem angry or explode. She just said quietly, "I knew it." She sat sad and resigned, trying to figure out what came next. Jennifer told Lauren that she wasn't in love with Fotis anymore, but for the sake of their 5 children, they would try to work out what they could. Jennifer reported that Fotis became controlling, monitoring her movements, isolating her from friends, and even installing tracking software on her devices. Around the same time, his finances were collapsing. Although he portrayed himself as a successful developer, his company was buried in debt. He had been borrowing against properties and depleting funds that Jennifer had inherited from her late father. At one point, Gloria had given the couple $2 million. Fotis used it to prop up his business, sustain his lavish lifestyle, and even to fund his affair. Once Gloria found out that he was using her funding to help support his infidelity, she cut him off, which enraged him. Jennifer knew the marriage could not be repaired. In May 2017, she made the choice she had long dreaded. She filed for divorce. In her petition, she wrote, "I am afraid of my husband. I know that filing for divorce and filing this motion will enrage him. I know he will retaliate by trying to harm me in some way." One frightening incident between the couple was actually witnessed by Lauren. Jennifer came running into a bedroom where Lauren and one of the daughters were sitting. After Jennifer made it in, she tried to hold the door shut. Fotis was on the other side, yelling and pushing to get in. When he finally forced the door open and saw them all there, his demeanor instantly changed. In a soft, calm voice, he told her that he just wanted to talk, as if no one had heard the rage that he had just spewed. It had shocked Lauren, who had never seen that side of Fotis. But Jennifer was used to it. She said that Fotis had once tried running over her with a car, and that he had spoken about taking revenge on people that he thought had wronged him. Jennifer was granted a protective order in 2017. She requested supervised visitation for Fotis, citing his volatility and the children's safety. But enforcement was weak. He would show up uninvited at their school events, drove by her new home in New Canaan and repeatedly violated the order without real consequence.
I think in these crimes, or pretty much in these cases where we have this violence against women, there needs to be something else, just not a protective order. You sign a protective order and then you just hope the person keeps the protective order. That's not enough. I mean, women end up getting killed or brutally abused or I mean, it's just horrible, and we need to do something about it. The justice system in America just does not protect women the way they should, in my opinion.
The custody battle that followed was brutal. Fotis demanded joint custody of the 5 children, but Jennifer fought back with evidence of his affairs, erratic behavior, and financial recklessness. He responded by accusing her of parental alienation and claiming that she was mentally unstable. All the while, Fotis's finances were imploding. His company was sinking under unpaid loans and lawsuits from contractors. Jennifer was emotionally and physically drained. Her blog entries from that time period spoke of sleepless nights, fear of being watched, and the sense that her husband was planning something desperate. Fotis had warned Jennifer that if she ever left him, he would take the children to Greece and never come back. Fearful that would happen, Jennifer quietly asked Lauren to start moving things out of the house. Items Fotis would not notice were missing. When she was ready to make the final move, she devised a quiet escape. She told Fotis that she and the children were going to New York to visit her father's grave, but instead she and the kids checked into the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Manhattan with a private bodyguard stationed outside the door. From there, she filed for divorce, and her and the children moved to a home on Wells Lane in New Canaan. By the beginning of 2019, Michelle had long since moved into the Jefferson Crossing home where Fotis still resided. Jennifer's attorney was pressing to finalize the divorce. The resulting settlement would likely grant Jennifer primary custody of the children and leave Fotis with mounting debt and almost nothing to show for his once lavish empire. The final hearing was scheduled for September 2019. Jennifer would vanish 4 months before then. While that legal battle came to a sudden halt, the investigation heated up. Once evidence mounted and became known, the narrative and public sympathy shifted away from the misunderstood husband and refocused on the missing mother of 5. The final forensic results revealed just how violent the encounter inside that garage had truly been. Examiners found blood spatters of Jennifer's blood throughout the garage, on the floor, splattered on the walls, and even on the ceiling. The patterns told forensic experts that the attack was extremely violent. Jennifer had been struck multiple times while she was standing, then continued to bleed as she fell to the ground. The chief medical examiner determined that given the degree of blood loss and other factors, Jennifer had sustained 1 or more injuries that would be non-survivable without medical intervention. The findings also revealed that mixed in with Jennifer's blood was DNA belonging to Fotis, and not just a trace amount that could be explained away, but substantial amounts of his genetic material that proved that he had been present during the assault. Despite his claims that he had not been to Jennifer's house in months, his DNA was spread everywhere. The cleanup attempt had backfired spectacularly. Instead of eliminating evidence, it had preserved it. When the blood was cleaned with bleach and paper towels, it actually created diluted samples that were easier for forensic technicians to analyze.
Nice.
The bleach had not destroyed the DNA. It had simply spread it around the garage, revealing the pattern of the cleanup itself. Investigators theorized that Fotis restrained Jennifer with 4 zip ties around her wrists and feet, then stabbed her with a murder weapon that had yet to be located. After rummaging in her pantry for 10 rolls of paper towels and using them to clean up, he loaded Jennifer's body into the Suburban and drove back to the park. He left the lights on in the Suburban to make it appear as if Jennifer had left the car in a hurry, perhaps abducted. He was back in Farmington by 1:37 that afternoon. But all the evidence they uncovered in the garage was only the tip of the iceberg of what they would find. For all of Fotis' attempts to outsmart investigators, it was his own digital footprint that gave him away. Using his cell tower pings and traffic camera timestamps, investigators retraced his path the afternoon Jennifer went missing. They showed him traveling from Farmington to Hartford. They then matched those digital signals to surveillance cameras along Albany Avenue, scouring hundreds of hours of footage from both traffic and business security systems. That digital trail led investigators to the discovery that would blow the case wide open. Between roughly 7 and 8:30 p.m., cameras captured Fotis' black Ford Raptor traveling through Hartford's Albany Avenue corridor. In the passenger seat sat Michelle Troconis. In one particular shot, you can see Michelle leaning out of the truck and reaching toward the ground. She would later explain that she had spit out gum, then wiped her sticky hand on the sidewalk to get it off. The pair were seen making about 30 stops, tossing black trash bags and other items into curbside trash bins and dumpsters, including even a rolled-up item that looked like it might be a rug.
No, so the mistress is involved in getting rid of the evidence? Wow, I did not see that coming, guys.
When investigators recovered the bags, they found bloody clothing, zip ties, sponges, gloves, and paper towels, many of them stained with Jennifer's blood. Some of the items also contained Fotis's DNA, and that rolled-up item turned out to be a bed liner from a Chevy Suburban, the same model as Jennifer's vehicle, also complete with Jennifer's blood. There were also traces of Michelle's DNA found on the lip of one of the trash bags. They also recovered 2 Connecticut license plates that Fotis had discarded. He had placed them in a FedEx envelope and ditched them in a storm drain. The plates appeared to read 5T6WBU, but upon inspection, detectives realized that blue tape had been used to alter the plates. Once the tape was removed, the plates actually read 516WDJ. The expired plates were from another 2007 Chevy Suburban that had belonged to Fotis. Altering license plates was not trivial. Fotis clearly had something to hide. What began as digital pings and timestamps had turned into a precise, minute-by-minute map of what law enforcement believed to be a cover-up. From the very beginning, Fotis had refused to cooperate with law enforcement in their attempts to find Jennifer. But while he stayed silent, the evidence against him kept mounting. In addition to the forensic evidence obtained from the garage and vehicles, which was extensive, the digital evidence was damning as well. It had helped law enforcement trace the couple's route along Albany Avenue, and it also unveiled inconsistencies in Fotis' story. Jennifer's phone showed normal movement and communication early that morning until about 10:25 a.m., when all her digital activity abruptly stopped. Fotis' phone also went inactive around the same time. Investigators noted how both phones went dark within roughly the same time frame, an extremely rare coincidence which strongly suggested that someone had deliberately turned the phones off to hide their movements. Between 8:05 and 10:25, his phone was either idle or in airplane mode. When I reconnected later that morning, cell tower pings placed him moving between Farmington and New Canaan, contradicting his alibi that he had been home working. At this point, it pretty much seemed like Fotis was just out there winging it and didn't have a plan. Technically, he did. It just happened to be terrible. The day after Jennifer disappeared, Fotis showed up at his neighbor's house who lived just west of him. The neighbor barely recognized him. Fotis had nearly shaved his head, sporting a close buzz cut, which changed his entire look. And as luck would have it, the cut made him look a lot like an employee of his, Powell Humiani. Even Powell himself noticed the similarity.
And did you say anything to Mr. Dulos?
Yeah, I made a comment about his hair.
And when you say you made a comment about his hair, describe his hair for the jury.
He was closely shaved.
In 2019, how were you wearing your hair?
Exactly the same way.
So what did you say to Mr. Dulos about his hair?
I told him, what are you doing? You shave your head. We're wearing dirty or work clothes. You're trying to be as handsome as me.
And how did Mr. Dulos respond?
I think he just smiled.
Powell worked for Fotis' home building company and also performed random jobs throughout the Dulos' neighborhood, including plowing snow. He often parked his red Toyota Tacoma at Fotis' home or properties while taking one of Fotis' work vehicles during his work week. It was routine. But on May 24, 2019, the day of Jennifer's disappearance, that routine broke. Powell had left his red Tacoma at one of Fotis' properties they were working on, and Fotis used it, without Powell's knowledge or permission. At least that's what neighbors' surveillance footage was indicating. But investigators didn't have proof, not until they started looking for that red pickup.
So what do you guys think? You think he shaved his head and borrowed the guy's car to make it seem maybe that it was him that did the murders? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments.
Police went frame by frame through any footage they could get their hands on in the New Canaan area, whether that be traffic cameras, home surveillance, even footage from school buses running their morning routes. They were searching for one thing that read Tacoma. And then they found it. As a rookie officer was scouring the school bus footage, she spotted the Tacoma parked just down the road from where Jennifer's black Suburban had been found. Everything was lining up. The Tacoma had been at one of Fotis's properties early that morning. Then it showed up in New Canaan, and later Fotis was seen riding a vintage French bicycle back toward where the truck had been parked. Investigators determined that he had used Wavy Park as a staging area. Fotis, with his Powell-inspired buzz cut, had parked his employee's red Toyota Tacoma there, then rode that vintage French bicycle the short distance to Jennifer's home so that the truck would not appear on neighborhood cameras. Surveillance captured him leaving the park around 7:30 a.m. and returning roughly 2 hours later, the same window of time that Jennifer vanished. Waveney's location made it the perfect setup, only a few miles from Jennifer's home, with secluded parking spots and limited surveillance at the time. It finally answered the question investigators had been asking from the start: how Fotis was getting from point A to point B at every turn. But back to Fotis's plan. Just in case he were spotted, he had fashioned himself to look as similar as possible to the person normally driving that red Tacoma, so that suspicion would be aimed directly at Powell if he were spotted.
So yeah.
Investigators were zeroing in on Fotis, but Fotis still wasn't done giving. When Paul returned to Fotis's property to retrieve his Tacoma on the afternoon Jennifer disappeared, the keys that he had left hanging in the passenger door earlier that morning were gone. Fotis told him that Michelle had taken them.
Once I get to 80 Mountain Spring Road to pick up my truck, there was no key for it. And he told me not to mention that Michelle had a key.
So you brought up the fact that your key wasn't in the Tacoma, and Mr. Dulos told you not to mention that Michelle had the key?
Yes.
What were his exact words, if you recall?
I can't remember. Let's not mention that.
So, he wasn't able to take his truck. He returned for it 4 days later. But, to Paul's surprise, when he got there, Fotis was off getting the vehicle detailed. He told Paul that he was on his way back from the car wash and would be there shortly. Records showed that Fotis paid $250 to have the vehicle detailed. When Fotis was finally handing the vehicle back over to Powell, he had a recommendation for him.
And when Mr. Dulos parked the Tacoma, what happened next?
He opened the door and he started playing with the side handle on the seat, and he told me, "What's up with this? This doesn't work. The seats are not original." He told me, "They look ghetto. You should get rid of them. You should change them." And I told him, "Yeah, I know it's the truck has other problems. I gotta get to it. It's leaking oil and things like that." And I told him, "I'll get to it." But he told me, no, you should change the seats. You should fix the truck, sell it, or lower the price, and sell the truck. I'll give you a good deal on the Jeep." I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I just went off on him. I told him, "What's up with my truck? Why did you clean it?" And he smiled at me and says, "Because you were never gonna do it." And I told him, "Seriously, why did you clean my truck?" And he says, "Don't worry about it. There's nothing going on." I went to Jennifer's house for Mother's Day. I gave her a hug. I hold the cat. And then I came back, and then I was having the same clothes, and I was driving your truck. There might be hair in it or something. I just want to clean everything. The police might come in. They find something, they're gonna destroy my name, destroy the company name. No one's gonna ever want to build it with me. And I said, "Why do you want me to change the seats? What's up with the seats?" And he said, "Can we not talk about it? Can you just do it?" And then he'd keep on pressing me on it. And then he was growing angry, and he keep on saying, like, you gotta do it, can you do it?
Powell went on to tell Fotis that he could not find any replacement seats in junkyards, and that the only available seats he knew of were the seats from Fotis's wrecked Porsche Cayenne that he kept at one of his other properties. Fotis was fine with that and told him to do it. But the battery on that Porsche turned out to be dead, so the seats could not be moved to get to the bolts to remove them. That made Fotis more angry, so he went with Powell back to the property to help and make sure the seats got replaced.
So he's just straight up dragging this guy into his crime, because if he didn't be careful, he could have been an accessory, not even knowing it.
They replaced the seats, but Powell, suspicious of Fotis, kept the original seats in the garage in case the police ever needed to see them. And investigators had even more. At some point, while Powell was transporting the Cayenne seats before installing them into his Tacoma, detectives noticed the seats in the back of the company vehicle that he was transporting them in. Not willing to take the fall for Fotis's increasingly suspicious excuses, he told them that Fotis directed and insisted that he change out his Tacoma seats for those. Noted. When investigators came searching Powell's home 2 weeks after the disappearance, Powell again told them that the seats were replaced after Jennifer disappeared, then promptly handed over the original seats. The original seats tested positive for Jennifer's blood. Fotis also discouraged Powell from talking to police, telling him that he would get in trouble since he only had a green card. The more investigators learned, the clearer Fotis's desperation became on multiple levels, including financial. Behind the facade of success, Fotis's financial world was crumbling. Investigators discovered that he had been relying on quick cash lenders, the kind of high-interest merchant advances that small businesses may turn to when banks say no. In April 2019 alone, he borrowed nearly $150,000 from one such lender and deposited over $190,000 in insurance checks meant for both him and Jennifer. But none of that money ever reached her accounts. His company was bleeding cash. By the time of Jennifer's disappearance, his total debt exceeded $7 million, and he had even stopped making interest-only payments.
Wow.
Investigators took note of the financial pressures closing in on him. If Jennifer were out of the picture, Fotis could have gained access to certain assets tied to their marriage, including the family's homes, pending insurance claims, and potentially the children's multi-million-dollar trust funds established by Jennifer's parents. For a man watching his empire collapse, the financial incentive was unmistakable. And there was even more. Detectives uncovered a 2-page alibi script along with a timeline in a trash can at Fotis's office. More copies were found elsewhere at his office and at he and Michelle's home. They were written in both Fotis and Michelle's handwriting. The writings outlined a detailed timeline for the morning Jennifer disappeared, a version of events that investigators claimed was carefully rehearsed to make sure their stories aligned and supported their alibis. They included details like them taking a shower together, all the way down to what they were wearing that day. This raised questions for investigators. If Michelle had helped create the alleged alibi script, it made officers question her level of involvement. So they called her in. She would sit down for a total of 3 separate interviews. During her first interview, she claimed she didn't know anything about Fotis's activities. And when investigators asked her for a timeline of what she had done on the day of Jennifer's disappearance, her account conveniently matched nearly word for word the alibi script found in Fotis's trash. She insisted that she and Fotis were together on the morning of Jennifer's disappearance, showering together and then having an intimate encounter around 6:40 that morning. By her second interview a few days later, investigators were not having it. They press her to ditch the scripted version or they'll walk.
We know you have information, and we need to know that. We do not want to go through this movie. We don't want to go through the script because we found the script. And if we start to review the script, the rehearsed story that we found, documentation of it, our instructions from the state's attorney, we'll walk out that door. And when we walk out that door, that will be it. This is coming from the state's attorney. So please tell, I don't want to hear the script. I want to hear what happened to Jennifer, and I want to hear who's involved in her murder.
I don't know. You're asking me something that I don't know. But can I say something? Don't get upset to me.
I'm not upset. I just want you to understand what we're doing.
You say rehearsal. It's not a rehearsal. It's Sunday.
Okay, you'll have a chance. You found a piece of paper that mirrors your statement to us. We don't want to talk about that.
I slept with her. Her alarm in mine are set up at, I think hers is at 6:35. Mine for sure 6:40. And we woke up. She takes showers. I go to my room. I also do the same thing.
Is Fotis there?
He was there when we woke up.
He was there at the house.
He was in the house.
Okay. So what if I were to tell you that I have evidence that he was not in the house at the time? Okay. You see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to be over dramatic. I don't want to. This is not any kind of threat. I just want you to understand. You have a daughter who's 12 years old. You have a mother. How old is your mom?
60.
Okay. All right. You want to see that, right? You don't want to go to prison. You don't want to get arrested for it.
Michelle would go on to admit that not only did they not wake up together at 6:40, become intimate, and take a shower together, she acknowledged that she actually did not even see him that day until between 1 and 2 p.m. She later starts going into her theory that Jennifer has run off and is in hiding.
You guys, okay, what I know, and I see in the newspaper that she got
No,
in the garage.
no. They're asking you for only your knowledge. Not what you read in the newspaper, not what you think
And I think that she's still somewhere, the whole hiding. You know, when you guys said that you find blood, so obviously she's not hiding from who. What Fotis have told me that in the past, before they were married, I don't know when, how many years, she fought with her parents and she disappeared and she moved to Austin. And she got an inherit of an aunt of $3 million. And she lived like for 3 years in Aspen. And she changed her name to Jennifer Bay, which I still receive in the house, magazines.
Michelle, let me ask you a question.
Then,
Let me ask you a question. You have how many children?
one of mine.
And Nicole, she's 12.
Yes.
Would you ever leave your 12-year-old daughter, listen, would you ever leave and go hide and not tell your 12-year-old daughter where you are? Why not?
Because I'm a healthy person, I won't do that.
Okay. Because she would be very upset, right?
It's something that doesn't even cross my mind.
It wouldn't even occur to you to do that.
No.
Because Jennifer has 5 children
Yes.
and other family members. Do you think, why would she go hide and not tell them for a period of time where she is and she's sick?
Why do these women stick up for the men? I mean, this guy obviously just did something to his wife. He's still married to her. And she thinks that down the road, he's not just going to dispose of her too or do something to her if they don't get along or if he finds another woman. She's sitting here almost about to go to jail for this guy. I mean, the nerve of some women.
Talk about the report.
No.
No, because
Listen, the question was.
my question is,
The
my
question
only
was.
answer that I can give is because from my understanding, she has a borderline personality
She
disorder.
got that information from Fotis.
Yeah, this is a man who killed this woman,
From
so.
Fotis,
She told me he was in prison.
yes, I got it.
Our impression of Fotis.
Yes, I got it from Fotis, and there's
Listen to Jennifer.
yeah, John.
Michelle.
I know, you keep calling me Jennifer instead.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Jennifer's on my mind.
I know.
Okay, because I worry every day and every night about Jennifer. So I apologize for calling you the name of the person missing. Now, violence, please. So Michelle, here's the thing.
They continue to press Michelle with information that's hard for her to hear.
I want to tell you something that everyone in this room is like. Fotis lies to everyone. And the reason he lies to everyone is he cares about one person in the world, and that's himself. He didn't care about his first wife, he didn't care about his second wife, he doesn't care about you. He says all kinds of things to all kinds of people to get what he wants. Okay? He manipulates, controls. We have no doubt he did that to you. He lies to you. So what I know I'm trying to. So he owes you. He feels he owes you nothing. If he could put this murder on you, he would do it in a second. Okay? We don't think that's true. And we want what is fair. Yeah, we're returning just.
I decided when we're talking.
What do you think?
They had investigated every angle, including interviewing friends and acquaintances. They asked Michelle whether she had joked with Fotis on a certain occasion.
So when you two initially greeted each other, what is and I said hello? Yeah. Were you friendly? I mean, was it? Oh, I hugged him, yes. Did you say anything to him? Jokingly or otherwise? I think I told him I love him. I hugged him. I'm like, did you see that? And then I asked him, did you see the kids? And then he said, we were all sitting there. It wasn't only just me. It was Aaron was sitting there. Did you ask him if he thought that you two would be able to have sex in jail? Yes. I said that was a joke. Why would you say that as a joke? Because he said the police could have arrested me in New York. And I said, well, if you get arrested, can I have, how do you know?
They talked to other people who heard it.
Well, Greg was there. Greg, Aaron, and I think Hodge. We were all lying in the grass. Well, Fotis, you could go to jail because the first suspect is the husband. I think now what you're saying. I think someone said that. And I said, as I joke, because I'm usually stupid and I joke, I said, oh, can you have sex in the jail? And we all laughed. That's how that joke became. A stupid joke. I'm sorry about that.
By the third interview, just over a month later, Michelle was trying to distance herself from Fotis while still maintaining her innocence. She admitted to helping Fotis clean Paul's truck, but claimed she didn't know why it needed cleaning. She acknowledged being present during the evidence disposal, but insisted she thought they were just throwing away construction debris, a practice that she, and even her sister contend, Fotis had done on prior occasions with debris from his construction sites in order to save the cost of disposal. Police directly challenged Michelle on her truthfulness.
Are you ready to admit that you weren't 100% truthful with us during the first two interviews? That should be an easy answer.
Yes.
It was the first time she mentioned several pieces of highly relevant information, including that she had taken Paul's keys when he came to pick up the car, that she and Fotis had taken his Tacoma to be cleaned, and that Fotis had handed her a brown-stained paper towel while he was cleaning Paul's car.
When at some point I'm coming out, and he gave me the paper towel, and I threw it in that garbage.
You threw a paper towel. You used a paper towel.
Yes. It was.
What was he using the paper towel?
He said that he spilled, I think it was coffee. In one of the cars. That's what he told me. I'm not sure if that's true or not. The paper towel was dirty.
I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you think this woman knows about the crime? Do you think she knows exactly what he did and exactly how he did it? Or do you think she's just naive and just going along with whatever this guy tells her to do? Let me know what you guys think.
What color was the paper towel? What color was the paper towel?
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you, having a real hard time believing that you don't know what's going on here.
I didn't know what's going on.
Investigators asked her why she neglected to mention the towel, keys, or car wash in any of her previous interviews with them. She said it was because they didn't ask her. During that third interview, she also told investigators that she had answered Fotis's cell phone the morning Jennifer disappeared, even though she originally told them that she thought he had it. Those were just a few of the inconsistencies. She gave investigators a lot to move forward with. Although Jennifer's body had not been found, law enforcement had enough evidence to bring charges against both Fotis and Michelle. On June 1st, 2019, the day before Michelle's third interview, both she and Fotis were arrested at their Farmington home. Fotis was charged with tampering with evidence and hindering prosecution. Michelle faced the same charges for her alleged role in helping him cover up the crime. Both pleaded not guilty and were released on bond a few days later. Once released, Fotis took to the airwaves.
It's been a very tough time for the whole family. We're all very worried about Jennifer.
How do you think the public looks at you?
It depends. I think that the people that do not know me, they probably look at me as a monster.
As a monster?
Yes. And that is because of the information that has come out. And I cannot speak about what happened. So they take the narrative that they see from the arrest warrants and what is being reported in the press, and they draw their own conclusions. So I've already been convicted in their mind.
What do you want people watching to know?
I want them to know that this is a very, very challenging time for my whole family, and we just have to be patient to get to the other side and see what happened.
Do you have any message for Jennifer's family?
Yes, I send my prayers. I had my differences with Jennifer, like many people do when they go through a marriage. It didn't work out for us, but that doesn't mean that I wish her ill in any way.
Where do you see this going for you?
I tried to go day by day. When it first started, I seriously pinched myself a couple of times, and I said, this cannot be true. I'm dreaming this. I'm wearing orange and I'm in a cell, 6 feet by 9 feet, and this cannot be true. So it's a day by day, hoping we'll get through this.
He's a pretty good liar. He really is. I mean, just looking at it, I might believe what he's saying, but he is a monster. That's what he is.
Do you think you've been treated fairly by the criminal justice system?
I do.
You do?
Yes. I think with the information they had, they did the best they could. And I understand they have tremendous pressure on them.
Gosh.
And it's also statistically, when something like this happens, 90 or 95%, it's the spouse. So I can understand why people feel like this.
And your answer to that is? When people say, yes, 90% of the time it is the spouse.
Well, it's 90%, it's not 100%. So I'm in the 5 or 10% category.
So yeah, because, people automatically say, oh yeah, people say the spouse did it.
Mm-hmm. I know, but I know what I've done and I know what I haven't done. So I have to stand and fight and hope that the truth is going to come out.
Do you have any thoughts about that, about her disappearance or what's happened?
I do, but I'd rather not speak about that today.
But at some point?
Some point.
Before she disappeared, what was your relationship with Jennifer?
As you know, we were in a very contentious divorce that was fueled by her attorneys.
Were you speaking on the phone?
We're speaking on the phone, yes.
And it was cordial?
And we also met a couple of times when we would have drop-offs for the kids. Yes, it was very cordial. 2 days before she disappeared, she invited me to play basketball at her house with the kids. And I did.
You're not allowed to have contact with the children at all?
I do not.
How is that for you?
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. This is a very tough time. I'm sure they have a lot of questions. I'm sure they're missing their mom, and I'm sure they're missing their dad. And I'm here, and I will be able to support them and help them through this time.
Talk to me a little bit about that, about the emotional toll of not having your children and not being able to contact them.
It's hard to describe. I think only if you live through this, you can understand what it is. I wake up every day and I feel like somebody's sitting on me, on my chest. It's terrible not to have your children. I don't think anything compares to it.
When people speculate that you wanted Jennifer out of the way, how do you respond to that?
Well, that's ludicrous because I never wanted Jennifer out of the way. Even if I could get sole custody, I would still not take it because I would want my children to have a relationship with their mother. Because I care about the children.
But that is interesting that, because the perception is contentious, ugly divorce and a motive clearly to do something.
Mm-hmm. My motive has been for the past 2 years to move on with my life. I have 5 beautiful children. I had Michelle, and I had a profession that I love.
Fotis's defense attorney even floated a revenge suicide theory, suggesting that Jennifer may have taken her own life in a way that would frame Fotis. It would take another 7 months and a mountain of additional forensic and digital evidence before murder charges would be added. On January 7, 2020, Michelle was formally charged with conspiracy to commit murder and additional counts of tampering with physical evidence. Fotis was charged with murder, felony murder, and kidnapping in connection with Jennifer's disappearance. But they weren't the only ones facing serious charges. Fotis's friend and attorney Kent Mulhenny was also arrested. He was accused of helping Fotis stage a false alibi for the morning Jennifer disappeared. Prosecutors said that Kent had prior knowledge of the plot to kill Jennifer, and that he worked to mislead investigators in the hours after her disappearance. He was charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Law enforcement finally had the people they felt were responsible for Jennifer's murder. But Fotis wouldn't stick around long enough to face his charges. With the overwhelming evidence against him, and no longer able to claim that his wife had somehow staged her own disappearance after losing life-threatening amounts of blood in their garage, Fotis was running out of room to maneuver. The walls were closing in further when just 3 weeks after being charged with murder, his $6 million bond came under review when it was discovered that he had exaggerated the value of the properties that he had used as collateral, 2 of which were already in foreclosure. A bond revocation hearing was scheduled that could send him back to jail. Fotis didn't like that idea. He didn't show up for the hearing, so police went to his home. That's when they found 52-year-old Fotis inside his Farmington garage, barely clinging to life after he had connected a vacuum hose from his vehicle's exhaust pipe into the cabin.
Wow, so he tries to kill himself. So really, does he care about his children at all? Because he's left them without a mother, and now he's trying to leave them without a father. So how can he say that he gives a damn about the children, really?
He was rushed to UConn Health Hospital and placed in critical condition. He died 2 days later, having never regained consciousness.
Wow.
His family, including the 5 children he shared with Jennifer, visited him before he was removed from life support. In a handwritten note he left behind, Fotis proclaimed his innocence. He starts the note with, "If you are reading this, I am no more. I refuse to spend even an hour more in jail for something I had nothing to do with. Enough is enough. If it takes my head to end this, so be it." And to his kids, "Please let my children know that I love them, but unfortunately, we all have our limits." He ends the letter. "Above all, Anna Curry, I'm sorry for letting you down and not continuing the fight." Who was Anna Curry? Not one to waste any time, once Michelle was arrested, Fotis decided that it was time to move on. He began a romantic relationship with an old acquaintance of...
I knew it. You see what I'm saying? These guys just go from one to the next as it's convenient for them. I called it out. I knew it. These men and these mistresses that think that these men just... If he cheats on his wife to be with you, then don't think he's not going to cheat on you to be with someone else. Period. Because once a snake, always a snake. Period.
Few months after Michelle was arrested. She began frequently staying at Fotis's mansion, helping him cope as the investigation against him escalated. In January 2020, when Fotis was arrested again, this time for murder, Anna, a wealth management consultant, put down $147,000 in cash toward his $6 million bond, and agreed to keep paying the remaining $272,000 in installments. On the morning of Fotis's death, Anna was supposed to drive Fotis to his bond hearing, but he asked her to run to the bank instead. She did, leaving him alone just long enough for him to attach the hose to his exhaust and climb into the truck. Fotis's death did not end the case. Michelle Troconis was still very much alive and facing serious charges for her alleged role in the conspiracy. It would take over 3 years, but she would eventually face the full weight of the justice system, alone. February 2024 marked the beginning of what many called the trial of the decade in Connecticut. With Fotis dead and Ken Mulhenny thought to be the far lesser involved party, he didn't even have a trial date scheduled yet. So 49-year-old Michelle Troconis was the person who could potentially be held accountable for what happened to Jennifer Dulos, and possibly reveal the location of her body. The prosecutor's objective was to show that Michelle was not a woman caught up in her boyfriend's crimes, but an active participant who helped plan, execute, and cover up the brutal murder of Jennifer Dulos. They started out by first establishing Fotis's behavior shortly after Jennifer went missing. They called his neighbor to testify how different Fotis looked and what he said.
What were you doing?
I was taking my dog for a walk.
What did Fotis Dulos look like?
He had a shaved head, and I did not recognize him initially. He was riding a one-wheel scooter past my home up towards Eli Road. And that was unusual to see someone doing that, especially towards Eli Road. But more importantly, I didn't recognize who it was. It is a private road, as I mentioned. So I didn't know who it was.
Around what time of day was this?
About 8:45 in the morning.
Did you speak to him?
He did approach me, and that's when I recognized his voice and recognized it was Fotis.
What did he say to you?
Well, at first I said to Fotis, how are you? And his response to me was, Jennifer's missing, right?
And what did you say?
I said to him, yes, I'd heard that. I hope she's okay, but I have not heard about the children. I hope they're okay.
What was his response?
His response was, he asked me how long we retained our security video and to make sure it didn't get deleted because he needed to prove that he was there on Friday.
Did he say anything else to you?
He did.
What did he say?
He talked about going to New Canaan on Saturday and how the police seized his phone. He talked about his attorney telling him that they need to develop a chronological timeline of where they were on Friday so that they can produce it if needed.
Did he use the word they?
He did use the word they.
That they needed to develop a timeline?
He did.
The they was significant. This was Michelle's trial, and Fotis saying they implied another person whose timeline needed to be established. It implied that they were working together. From there, the prosecution meticulously laid out each piece of evidence, from the laundry list of highly material inconsistencies across her interviews to her and Fotis's evidence-dumping tour through Hartford to the pair casually getting coffee at a Starbucks afterward. They also presented the details surrounding the timeline and alibi script found in Fotis's office trash, which her defense contended was merely written to help jog their memory of the events that had taken place that day. Michelle said that she had made the notes because Fotis's attorney recommended she do so, not as part of any plan, but as documentation of what had actually happened. But that didn't add up, especially since that highly detailed documentation of what supposedly happened was glaringly missing the hours-long trip they took disposing of the evidence. The prosecution even showed footage of smoke coming from the couple's Jefferson Crossing chimney on 3 separate occasions on the afternoon of Jennifer's disappearance, despite the fact that it was Memorial Day weekend, nearly summer, and about 74 degrees in Farmington that day. Michelle had finally acknowledged setting one of those fires during her 3rd interview. The prosecution contended that the fires were used to burn evidence. Michelle sat motionless as the jury watched footage of her and Fotis driving through Hartford, Fotis tossing trash bags into random bins. They outlined how the bags contained a broken mop handle, zip ties, a stained bath towel, and more. But it was the display of Jennifer's clothing that had the greatest impact. The prosecution presented what was believed to be the shirt that Jennifer was wearing when they claimed Fotis murdered her.
If I may, sir, can you please point to where the shirt is cut?
It's almost right down the center of the shirt.
Are there any buttons or zippers on the shirt?
No.
So, and what is the brand?
It's a Vineyard Vine shirt.
And over here, there's some marking. What is that?
There's a defect in the shirt.
Are you talking about the hole?
Yeah,
And did this go to the lab?
it did.
Now there are letters here, EDSFTG. Do you know what that stands for?
Yes, it's a Vineyard Vine slogan for every day should feel this good.
The cruel contrast of the acronym made the moment even more somber. The haunting visual of Jennifer's bra sliced down the middle, along with the nearly completely blood-soaked shirt, also sliced down the middle, left little question as to what happened to Jennifer, and the merciless end she must have endured. The defense argued that all the evidence pointed to Fotis' involvement, and none of it pointed to Michelle. So the prosecution also brought to light Michelle's reported disdain for Jennifer.
She said something like, can you believe that Jennifer won't even let the kids come over and say goodbye to the dog before we put him to sleep?
Did you respond to that comment?
I don't remember.
And you indicated that the defendant was present. Did she say anything at that point?
Yes.
Tell the jury what the defendant said.
She said she should be buried right next to this dog. Yes, so Michelle was upset that her and her daughter pictures were posted by the news online. And she said, I'm gonna kill that when she's gonna turn up. And I said, don't say that. And she said that she's gonna be suing the news. She's writing down who posted what pictures.
Once the defense began their case, they contended that Michelle had no role in Jennifer's disappearance, no knowledge of any plan, and that her only mistake was trusting Fotis Dulos. They pointed to the lack of physical evidence linking Michelle to Jennifer's presumed death, and emphasized that much of the state's case was circumstantial. Throughout the trial, Michelle's family stood firm in their belief that she was innocent, standing by her both inside and outside the courtroom. And if the drama happening with the people closest to the crime wasn't enough, there was more. A bailiff described an elevator exchange with a juror who called out, "We love you," to two of the prosecuting attorneys, an indication of how consumed the community had become by the case. The judge removed that alternate juror due to the appearance of bias. A second juror was also removed when the judge learned that they had compared the case to Gone Girl, leading the judge to question their ability to remain impartial. One of these stranger threads to come up during trial involved a series of voicemails that Fotis left just days before Jennifer vanished for Kent Mulhiney's estranged wife. Fotis and the woman barely knew each other, but he spoke in the voicemails like they were close, asking her to call him back and to meet in person. The tone made her uncomfortable, and she later told police that she believed Fotis and her estranged husband were trying to get rid of her or to lure her into danger. She did eventually meet Fotis at a restaurant, where he urged her to come to his home. That really kicked her fear into high gear. Law enforcement believed that Fotis was attempting to meet with Kent's wife to help establish his alibi. They felt that her involvement also pointed to Kent being involved in some way. After a 6-week trial, the case finally came to a close. The jury deliberated for 6 days before reaching their decision. And while conspiracy is often hard to prove, Michelle's deception and inconsistencies swayed the jury in the end. On March 1st, 2024, the jury found Michelle Troconis guilty on all counts. At her sentencing hearing, the people who had been impacted most by losing Jennifer spoke as Michelle listened through translation earbuds, including Jennifer's eldest son.
My mother was everything to me. But during the divorce, I became very bitter with everyone around me, especially Mom, because she was always trying to help me. This meant that I hurt the person closest to me, because I didn't know how else to voice my pain. The defendant's actions mean that I will never be able to tell my mom how sorry I am for not being a better son when she needed me. I will never be able to tell Mom how proud of her courage I am, most importantly, how much I love her. This fact haunts me every day. Your Honor, I understand that sitting over there is a mother with a child and a family who love her. My mom once had that. We once had that, and she helped destroy it. That woman appeals to our sympathy under the guise of being a mother. She has desecrated the meaning of that word for me. I want to end with the lesson my mom taught me. Leave everything the same or better than you found it. Michelle Troconis, you did the opposite, and you should be punished. Thank you.
Lauren also spoke.
I first met Jennifer in 2012, and she had 5 small kids, and I was 21 in my senior year of college. I started babysitting for Jennifer once a week, but then that grew to seeing Jennifer and her kids almost 6 days a week. From the beginning, I was never just their nanny. To be inside someone's home is such an intimate experience, one that has many ups and many downs. But right away, Jennifer opened up her home to me and made me part of their family. We were a duo right away. She trusted me, and I trusted her. The actions of Michelle Troconis have greatly affected my life and continue to affect my life. The day Jennifer went missing was the day I started to fear not only for my life, but the life of Jennifer's 5 children. And this was directly because of what Michelle and Fotis decided to do on May 24th, 2019. I no longer slept. I no longer could leave the apartment without running to my car in fear that someone would come after me. I could no longer enter my home in Connecticut without a police officer because I was afraid of Michelle and Fotis being on the other side waiting for me. We didn't leave the kids alone because we were certain Michelle and Fotis would try and take them. We had armed bodyguards escort us anywhere we went because we lived in fear 24/7. I had nightmares so bad I woke up in tears shaking, unable to let go of the thought of Michelle and Fotis taking these kids and doing something unthinkable, because the unthinkable had already happened. May 24th, 2019 was the day Jennifer was murdered by Fotis and Michelle, and that was the day I decided I wouldn't leave those kids until she was found. It's been 5 years, and I still haven't left their side. I had a relationship, upcoming career, family, friends. My whole life was in Connecticut. I left all that to help Gloria and Jennifer's close friends to care for these kids. My relationship ended. I lost the place I called home. I've lost friends and time with my family. I had to rethink what my life would be like now that I had 5 kids to help look after. These kids have become my whole world, and they've taught me what unconditional love is. But because of what Michelle has done, my life has become something unexpected. I put my own goals in life on hold. My desire to have my own children has been paused. I've also witnessed what losing both parents have done to these kids. Tears, fear, sadness, because they no longer have parents to watch them grow up, watch them graduate, help them learn from mistakes, enter relationships, and share memories of their childhood. The feeling we all feel, knowing we have our parents in this world that love us unconditionally no matter what we do, the 5 of them lost that.
The jurors also heard from Michelle's teenage daughter.
Good morning.
The first time I met Michelle, we were water skiing in Miami. I'd heard that she was my dad's friend, and that was all I ever thought was relevant to know. The next time she came into my life was when we left Farmington with my mom. I don't remember it very well, but I didn't know we were leaving Fort Jefferson for good. When my mom told us we were going to New York, I expected just another visit to my grandma's house. Then the pictures of the house we were moving into began to be shown, and talk of Dad's cheating slipped from adult mouths and spread to me. I was confused. My dad, the person who I looked up to, was doing something awful, and it was with Michelle. Michelle, the woman I had not given a thought to since I had last seen her. Our lives completely changed from then on. We were living in New Canaan and getting enrolled in New Canaan Country School. I remember talking to my dad on one of our visits. I asked him something like, "Why did you cheat on Mom? I thought you said cheating was bad." He answered, "When you really love somebody, sometimes you can't wait." It occurred to me then that the person Dad really loved was no longer my mom. It was Michelle. Michelle, the one who was moving into my house, sleeping on my mom's side of the bed. It occurred to me then that this affair was why my mom took us and left, why she cried at night, and why we were no longer a family. From then on, Michelle was a part of my life with my dad. Later on, my dad told us that Michelle was not allowed to be around us anymore, and that if we wanted to keep seeing her, we could not tell Mom that Michelle was at our visits. I cared, almost more than anything, about keeping my dad happy and proud. So when my mom asked me if Michelle was at our visits, I lied. I stood in her bathroom, just my mom and me, looked at her and said, "No, she is not at our visits." Not because I wanted to keep seeing Michelle, but because I knew Dad wanted to. Mom found out that we lied, and soon Dad's visits became shorter and shorter until it was once a week with the supervisor. Michelle's presence in our lives, even before May 24th, was overwhelming and invasive. I lied for her. I was told to trust her. I switched bedrooms so that she and her daughter could move in, all while seeing the effects this had on my own family. On May 24th, 2019, I went to my friend's house after school while my siblings went to New York. I was told I had to sleep at that friend's house because something was happening, but nobody told me what. That night I called my mom and she did not answer. On the same day, my dad, with the help of Michelle Troconis, murdered my mom. And even though Michelle may not have been holding the weapon, I truly believe that she had a lot more to do with everything than she's letting on. Michelle Troconis, to me, is the reason I feel completely lost and alone on nights when I cannot sleep. She's the reason why I've blocked out my childhood, and that day so much I can barely remember it. She's the reason kids at school look at me with pity, the reason my teachers say guardians and not parents, the reason I've had to sit and watch as the people who care for me break down, the reason my siblings move through life with a huge piece of them lost. She's the reason I've had to sit on the bathroom floor with my little sister and try my best to comfort her. She's the reason I had to visit my dad in the hospital, knowing what he did and knowing he chose to leave us. She's the reason I did not get to visit my mom in any sort of way before she died and have no closure in her death. She's the reason I no longer feel I have a real beginning, a home to always come back to, parents I will always belong to. She's the reason words mom and dad spark nothing but a hazy memory. The reason those words will never again represent the person who holds me in their arms as I cry about some unimportant temporary problem. The person I can casually go to lunch with and talk about all the gossip and trauma with. The person who comes to my sports games and cheers me on. The person who picks me up from school.
Here, you guys need tissue. Got you.
Mom and dad are words that only bring trauma and grief. Michelle Troconis is the reason I've had to wake up every single day since May 24th, 2019, and ignore the first 10 years of my life because I cannot even begin to process everything. For that and everything else I've said, Michelle deserves a maximum time in jail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle was allowed to address the court as well.
Your Honor, I am deeply saddened by this tragedy that has affected so many lives. I found out things before and during trial about a man, Fotis Dulos, I thought I knew and loved. I deeply regret ever being in a relationship with Fotis Dulos and bringing my daughter, my family, and myself into our lives, into his life. I am a person of profound faith, and I have been praying and will continue to pray for those who suffered and still suffer. I am thankful to my whole family and my dear friends who have stood by me and support me. I am grateful to you, Your Honor, to let me express myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
The judge sentenced Michelle to 20 years in prison, but he suspended a chunk of that, essentially reducing that sentence to about 14 and a half years. After Michelle was sentenced, her family spoke out. They said that during the trial, a gag order was in place, so they were not allowed to speak. They expressed how they believed Michelle was wronged.
This has been an injustice from day one for my sister, and we were just shocked completely, and I'm still shocked. I'm still pinching myself thinking this is a nightmare that I'm gonna wake up from, but it's reality, unfortunately.
I realized that she didn't know anything that was Fotis was doing or he did until the second interrogation that I was waiting for her outside on the Bowman office. And she came crying to me, and I hugged her, and she told me, "Daddy, I think that Fotis did it." And I asked her, why? Why do you say that? Because all the evidence they showed me, the blood in the Tacoma, all these things, they scared me. And that's when I realized that she didn't know anything.
She told them that they had gone to Albany Avenue. She told them that they were discarding construction work because she had done it in the past with him. I had even done it in the past 2 years,
Me too.
a year before.
That was normal for Fotis.
Yes. She's an amazing mother, so she would never harm any other mother. That's number one.
They claim that they were all misled by Fotis about his relationship with his wife.
I asked him, "Are you divorced? Are you still married?" "No, I'm separated long time ago, but we were living in the same house because we have some arrangement because the kid, we are in an amicable divorce, but I don't love her anymore, and she's nice with me. We are handling the custody of the kids, but that's fine. We are getting along pretty well. She decided to move to New Canaan, and now, you know, I love your daughter. Is the woman of my life. She have the same principles and culture background and all the sportive life. She loves nature, animals, everything. The kids love her, and she's a wonderful woman. You know, and he told me all that scene. I trust this guy at that moment. I didn't know he was lying to me or manipulating me. I don't know.
The interviewer did not ask them why Michelle gave false and shifting accounts to investigators. Years after his initial arrest, Kent Mulvaney's case finally reached its conclusion. He had spent nearly 11 months in custody following his January 2020 arrest before posting a $2 million bond and being released under GPS monitoring. The original conspiracy to commit murder charge was formally dropped, with prosecutors saying they did not have sufficient evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Then, on June 13, 2025, Kent pleaded guilty under the Alford plea doctrine to a lesser charge of interfering with police. That doctrine meant that he did not admit to the allegations, but accepted that there was enough evidence for a jury to convict him. It still results in a guilty finding by the court. He was sentenced to the amount of time served, 11 months, and was not required to serve any additional time. His law license was suspended following his arrest, and reports suggest he has no intention of returning to legal practice.
Now, see, in my eyes, in my opinion, the justice system just failed again, because this guy could have been plotting the murder of his wife himself with this POTUS guy. They were maybe agreeing to do the murders of both wives. So what if this guy just did his little sentence that they gave him and gets out and ends up murdering his wife anyway? It's crazy.
After Jennifer's disappearance, her mother Gloria sued Fotis for the millions of dollars she had loaned to his company. The court awarded her nearly $2 million, including about $200,000 from a personal loan used to build the Farmington home, where he later lived with Michelle Troconis. Gloria and her late husband Hilliard had poured more than $2.4 million into that house, and when Fotis stopped paying the mortgage, Gloria had to cover it herself.
When Fotis defaulted, he knew that Gloria Farber was going to have to start making the mortgage payments, and ironically it was interest only. So Gloria continued to pay those payments month in and month out, but we were bleeding. And in the meantime, Gloria Farber's paying for Fotis Dulos to live in that house, this palatial house, with his girlfriend. And he seemed to have the same lifestyle that he had, travel, entertainment, etc. And, but, quote, couldn't afford to make the mortgage payments. So we were forced to pay off the bank, and we've now taken an assignment of the bank's mortgage, and I'm foreclosing on the bank's first mortgage.
By the time Fotis died in 2020, he was nearly bankrupt. Gloria's attorney continues to pursue what's left of the estate to recover funds owed to her. Jennifer Dulos was legally declared dead in October of 2023, allowing for the distribution of her assets. Jennifer's 5 children, now teenagers, remain in the care of their grandmother, Gloria Farber, who has served as their guardian since 2019. Fotis's family in Greece has sought visitation rights, but the Connecticut family court has repeatedly sided with Gloria, citing the children's need for stability and their preference to stay with her. Investigators worked tirelessly trying to find Jennifer's body. They spent months retracing Fotis and Michelle's every movement in the days surrounding May 24, 2019, hoping to locate Jennifer's body. Detectives pulled their phone records and vehicle telematics to map all their routes. They searched sewers, storm drains, reservoirs, the river, Fotis's company, and all of the known locations where they had stopped. They even built a geographic heat map of every cell ping and camera hit during that time period. Despite hundreds of search warrants and more than 500 individual searches, her body has never been found. In 2021, Anna Curry, the woman who posted Fotis's bond and who he apologized to in his goodbye letter, filed a lawsuit to get back the money she had put toward his bond. She asked the court to return her $147,000 deposit and to wipe out the additional $272,000 that the bond company said she still owed. In her filing, she said the paperwork was rushed, unclear, and never properly explained to her. The bondsman disagreed and claimed that the full balance was her responsibility. As of the most recent court action in March 2024, the case is still open. Jennifer Dulos' case remains open. Why? It's a fair question that continues to come up. With the main suspect dead, the accomplices convicted or sentenced, and no mystery suspect left to pursue. With the exception of not having a body, the case appears to be complete. But law enforcement still characterizes Jennifer Dulos' disappearance as an open and active investigation. In almost any other case under the same circumstances, with or without a body, the file would have been closed, or at least deemed cold. But Jennifer's family was wealthy and prominent, and this was a high-profile case, probably in no small part because they were wealthy and prominent. Even Jennifer's side acknowledged the imbalance in coverage.
This case has received a disproportionate amount of coverage, and I realize I'm contributing to that by speaking to you right now. But there are so many people whose stories are not being told, whose stories when they go missing don't get covered, in that crucial window of time when it might be possible to find them if they are still alive.
She went on to describe how Jennifer would have been a strong advocate for strengthening domestic violence laws. In the years after Jennifer's disappearance, her story didn't just stay in the headlines, it helped change the law. Connecticut went on to expand its legal definition of domestic violence to include coercive control, partly inspired by the awareness Jennifer's case created. Lawmakers said Jennifer's experience showed how abuse isn't always physical. It can also involve intimidation, isolation, and manipulation that trap victims in fear. The 2021 law now allows courts to recognize those patterns as domestic abuse, giving victims protection even before violence occurs. Michelle Troconis is currently serving her 14.5-year sentence at York Correctional Institution in Connecticut. Her appeals process is ongoing, with her attorneys arguing that the evidence was insufficient to prove that she knew about Fotis' plan to murder Jennifer. Legal experts consider her chances of success minimal, given the overwhelming evidence presented at trial. Michelle continues to maintain her innocence, and her family remains vocal in supporting her, appearing outside the courthouse and in interviews defending her character.
This is definitely a devastating day because my sister is innocent of all the charges that she was convicted of. And we are certain that she is innocent. And I know that only time will prove it to you guys. I know that everyone wanted answers. I know that maybe the state is happy that they finally convicted her or someone is paying for the price, but she's not the right one. We still don't know what happened to Jennifer. We're all mothers and we all love, as you can see, Michelle has been supported by us, her family and friends from day one. And we continue standing here because we too care to know the truth of what happened to Jennifer, but we don't know what happened to Jennifer. And choosing and putting my sister as the guilty person is not the right thing to do because she's innocent. So we will appeal and we will not stop fighting for her justice that this so country has apparently promised to us, because as an American myself, this is an injustice completely. So my sister will eventually come out. She has to, because she's innocent of everything that she's been charged for. My sister is innocent. And this wasn't a fair trial. And you all know that. You all know, look inside your heart. The media from day one attack us, harass us. Okay, you, probably the moms out here know. My sister doesn't know what happened to Jennifer. We want to know. We pray every night for the 5 children. I met them. I know them. They are beautiful kids. So is my niece. Have some compassion. I mean, your heart, look inside your heart. We cannot live in a world with this much hate. My sister's innocent. And this is wrong. This wasn't a fair trial from day one. Wasn't a fair trial. And you all know that because you are parents, you are moms, you are grandparents. Please,
Look inside your heart. This world needs more love, and this is wrong. What happened to my sister today is wrong. It wasn't a fair trial. It wasn't.
My last words go to Petros, Christiane, and all the 5 children. I don't recall the names right now. I personally have been praying for you every day, mornings and night. I'm sorry about what happened to your mommy, but my sister is not the answer. And I hope that when you grow up, you find your own means to know what happened, to seek for the truth, to seek for real justice.
Under Connecticut law, Michelle would become eligible for parole after serving about 85% of her sentence. That means that she could first be considered for release sometime around 2036. Until then, she remains incarcerated as the search for Jennifer Dulos' body continues.
All right, guys, that's it. So what do you think about this case? We have the mistress. We have other people plotting. And what do you think? Was justice served? That's a good question, because a part of me feels sorry for her. Part of me thinks that she knows more than she's saying. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I wanted to get off the Chris Watts case for a little bit. So hopefully you stuck with me, because this is a really good case. So all right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.